All right, joining me now in studio is Navy SEAL and former governor of Missouri, Eric Greitens. Thanks for taking the risk and sitting so close. I think we're breaking some rules here.
We might be, but I feel safe.
All right, we have a lot to get to. Yeah. But before we get to the McCloskeys, you recently were there on the scene of a shooting in St. Louis. Real quick, tell that story.
Yeah, so basic story. I rolled out of a TV hit that I'd done. A buddy and I we're sitting down for pizza, and then bang, like semi-automatic, automatic gunfire starts coming out. At least 15, maybe 25 plus shots. We grabbed our weapons and our med kits, drove about 70 yards to the scene and got there. And there was one guy laying on the street, multiple gunshot wounds. My buddy is a special operations fire department medic. I grabbed my med kit out of the car. We both started working on him right away. There was a second casualty just across the street. I ran over there, started working on that casualty, got a tourniquet on him. Unfortunately, both of those young kids lost their lives that day. But it was the kind of thing you'd expect in a place like Iraq or in Afghanistan, but it was happening in the middle of St. Louis. And for, folks, you've got a national audience, so folks who wouldn't know, the corner of Lindell and Grand in St. Louis where this happened, one of the nicest corners in the city of St. Louis, a place where we would take kids, take your family. And you've got, now, unfortunately, it's not just what happened last Monday night. The murder rate in St. Louis is up 30%.
But defund the police, right?
Yeah. Well, this is what's crazy.
I ask you about this because Kim Gardner, the prosecutor that came after you that was funded, I know it's conspiracy theory to talk about George Soros. She was, in fact, funded by George Soros. She is now finding some way to prosecute the McCloskeys. And look, I'm sure as a Navy SEAL, your first image of that was like, ooh, flagging barrels. This is really bad trigger discipline and all that good stuff. She is trying to prosecute them. But every time the St. Louis PD brings in someone for rioting, looting, or what have you, she releases them as quickly as possible. And you now have real, actual murders that are not being prosecuted. Correct. But these two, as goofy as they looked, are facing charges.
Yeah, look, you're exactly right. Her campaign was funded over 70% from George Soros. She is a George Soros-funded prosecutor, and in her, the radical left is getting exactly what they paid for. As you said, when looters are brought in, she lets them loose. In St. Louis, we had people engaged in prayer who were attacked and assaulted by Black Lives Matter activists. It's on video, and nobody was charged. Businesses are burned. You saw retired St. Louis Police Captain David Dorn was murdered. Police officers are being shot, and she does nothing. But then when you have a family that goes out to try to defend themselves, that's what she has time for. That's what she's focused on. It's an embodiment of the lawlessness of the left.
Does she have an actual law, state law, local law to prosecute them under?
Look, she's claimed that she does. She's claimed that she does, but anyone can see with common sense with their own eyes. You look at what's happening in the city of St. Louis and unfortunately in the whole state of Missouri, where murders are rising 30%, businesses are being burned down, looters are being let loose. She is encouraging lawlessness, and then she turns around and, spends all of this time going after this couple because she wants to make national headlines, and she's a George Soros-funded prosecutor who's pushing this very liberal agenda.
Before we came into studio, you were talking about Mrs. McCloskeys' gun being inoperable. First of all, how does anyone know that, and does that affect the potential for prosecution?
Well, what the McCloskeys have said is that the gun was inoperable. And now what has come out is that Kim Gardner directed people to make the gun operable when it was seized. The reason this is relevant is that you can't charge someone for a crime if they're using an inoperable gun. So it very much looks like evidence tampering again. And keep in mind, when Kim Gardner came after me...
What made the gun inoperable? What was the problem?
It sounds like the firing pin was misplaced in the gun, that it was before or behind a
Did Ms. McCloskey know this?
Supposedly, yes. What I had read was that the McCloskeys had actually intentionally done that because they'd been using it in some kind of demonstration where there were children, and so they had made it inoperable. Now, again, I don't know those facts myself. That's just what I've read. But what you do have, very clear evidence, is that Kim Gardner is tampering with evidence again. Not only is she not prosecuting murders, not only is she not letting looters loose and not prosecuting arsonists or people who assault people engaged in prayer, she, it appears, is also tampering with evidence to go after people who are defending their home.
Is there any state law that would allow the governor, let's say you were governor, is there any law that would allow the state to step in and override her prosecution or remove her?
Well, what should have happened weeks ago, is that you needed to have frontline leadership that was down there supporting the police from the beginning. The whole reason the situation with the McCloskeys even happened was because there was no leadership, there was no direction, there was no plan. I am talking with St. Louis police officers and Kansas City police officers every single day. And what they've been telling me for weeks now is that they have no plan. There's no guidance that's coming down from the top. And so, first of all, you need to have leadership from people in the state of Missouri, bring in the State Highway Patrol, bring in the National Guard so that things like this don't even happen in the first place. Then you do need to have somebody who's willing to step in with courage. Unfortunately, we had weeks of silence and weakness and cowardice coming from the state of Missouri. It was only when President Trump called and said that he was going to take action that people started to say, okay, well, we could pardon the McCloskeys if they are convicted. But even more importantly, Kim Gardner should have been investigated long ago, and she needs to be investigated now.
All right, you have a personal history with Kim Gardner, and you expressed on my radio program that you had defeated Black Lives Matter. And I think it goes without saying, we all know, if you've ever read their website, Black Lives Matter has nothing to do with Black Lives Mattering. Do you think that had something to do with her attempting to prosecute you?
Absolutely, 100%. Look, in 2017, we defeated Antifa.
That's it, Antifa.
Yes. Your viewers will remember what happened in Ferguson, Missouri, right? I rolled in as governor, and Antifa came in and they said, we're going to make it so bad that people won't even remember Ferguson. We're going to burn this place to the ground. And I came in, and we worked with clergy. We worked with police lieutenants. We brought the community together, and we had a lot of clarity. And we just said, look, everyone has the constitutional right to freedom of speech. Everybody has the constitutional right to protest. And if you are out protesting peacefully, you will find that the police are out protecting your constitutional rights. But we're also very clear that throwing a brick through a window is not free speech. If you assault a police officer, you're going to be arrested. And we defeated Antifa. After 3 days, we had some broken windows and overturned potted plants. And then what happened after we defeated them? A couple months later, Kim Gardner comes up with this bogus case against me, for which her lead investigator has now been indicted for 7 felonies, and she is under active criminal investigation. It's just a real demonstration of how the left will go after outsiders who they see as a threat, and they will engage in criminal conduct to take people out.
Again, it gets called anti-Semitism, which is funny coming from the left, but it's also written off as boogeyman conspiracy theory when we bring up Soros. But we do know who George Soros is. He is the Open Society guy. He is the guy that wants a borderless Marxist world, and he did fund her campaign. So we are not putting together the air fingers, quote, straw man. Do you think that he, I don't want to use the word ordered, but do you think he was in Kim Gardner's ear, or his people were, hey, this guy pushed back on Antifa. I accidentally said Black Lives Matter. Push back Antifa, now push back on him.
I think so, and all of the evidence suggests that. And look, and I can tell you, as the first Jewish governor of Missouri, I'm pretty confident that, like, when I talk about George Soros doing this, we're talking about it because George Soros funded Kim Gardner's campaign. And when she ultimately was going to be deposed, because she is under criminal investigation for what she did to me, what did she do? She had a big rally where she brought in 6 other Soros-funded prosecutors from around the country. This is a national effort that they are engaged in to buy these district attorneys in places around the country and have them go after outsiders who represent a threat. I represented a threat because my team and I had defeated Antifa, and they came after us.
Just let's expand this.
Yes.
Former governor, Navy SEAL. You're watching Portland now.
Yeah.
Jay Inslee, Kate Brown, they have been awful. I mean, Tim Walz, awful. These governors are handing their major metropolitan cities off to, I hate to say it, but they are terrorists.
Yes.
When you have people that are wearing uniforms, that are moving in formation, right? They're using these ballistic shields and they're firebombing a federal court. A federal court can't conduct its business. If that's not an insurrection, I don't know what is at this point. If the police are overwhelmed, something has to be done. And the sad part is Ted Wheeler and Jenny Durkin and Jacob Frey, they're letting this happen. They're letting these people rule the streets.
And let's not forget, because it's so easy the way the mainstream media will move past the deaths. People are being killed. People are being killed, right? They were being killed in Seattle and whatever they were calling that Capitol Hill autonomous jazz chop thing, right? People are being killed. These are lives that are being lost. I was on the street just last Monday, and 2 young kids, good kids, not a parking ticket between them, were murdered on the streets. Lives are being lost. And one of the first rules of leadership is that when your people, and as governor, you represent everyone, whether they voted for you or not, whether they agree with you or not, you serve all of the people. When people are in losing their lives and kids are losing their lives, you have to take action. And it is a disgrace to see the weakness and the complicity and the cowardice of these mayors and governors who are not protecting their people.
All right, I got to leave it there. I guess after serving as a Navy SEAL and a governor, the whole coronavirus thing isn't scary, so shake my hand.
Thanks,
in
man.
studio. Thanks for coming in studio.
Good to be with you. Good to be with you.
All right, we've got more.